They say some houses never let go of the dead. They whisper through the walls, wander the halls, and wait for someone brave enough to listen. If you ever find yourself in St. Francisville, Louisiana, and you see the long, oak-lined driveway of an old plantation home called the Myrtles, remember this: you're stepping onto one of the most haunted pieces of land in America. Tonight, we uncover the chilling legends, restless spirits, and true encounters from the Myrtles Plantation. At first glance, the Myrtles Plantation is breathtaking. Spanish moss drapes from ancient trees, and the wraparound veranda looks like something out of a painting. But beneath that southern charm lies centuries of tragedy, betrayal, and death. The home was built in 1796 by General David Bradford, known as Whiskey Dave. He fled Pennsylvania after the Whiskey Rebellion and sought a new beginning in Louisiana. But from the very beginning, the Myrtles was tainted by misfortune. Of all the spirits said to haunt the property, one name echoes louder than the rest: Chloe. Chloe was said to be an enslaved woman who worked inside the home. Some say she was trusted, even close, to the family who lived there. Others say she was punished cruelly for overhearing a secret. According to the legend, Chloe was caught listening at a keyhole to one of her master's private conversations. As punishment, her ear was cut off. From that moment on, she wore a green turban to hide the scar. In a desperate attempt to regain favor, Chloe baked a birthday cake for the family, but mixed in a small dose of poison, intending only to make them ill so she could nurse them back to health. But it went horribly wrong. The wife and 2 daughters of the master died within hours. When the other enslaved workers discovered what she had done, they dragged Chloe to a nearby tree and hanged her, her body thrown into the Mississippi River. To this day, guests and staff claim to see a woman in a green turban wandering the halls. Some say she appears in mirrors or in photographs, her face half hidden, one eye just barely visible, as if she's still listening through that keyhole. In the grand hallway of the Myrtles stands an antique mirror, one that refuses to stay clean. No matter how often it's polished, strange handprints appear. Faces, faint, childlike faces, sometimes emerge in the glass. It's said that this is the very mirror that held the reflection of the poisoned family. In old Southern superstition, mirrors must be covered when someone dies. Otherwise, their soul becomes trapped inside. This one apparently wasn't covered. Visitors swear they've seen the faces of a woman and 2 children staring back at them. And when they look again, they're gone. Chloe isn't the only spirit tied to this land. The plantation's history is drenched in sorrow and blood. During the Civil War, a Union soldier was shot and killed right on the front porch. His blood is said to have stained the floorboards, and no amount of cleaning ever removed it. Some visitors have reported seeing a man in uniform limping through the parlor, leaving muddy footprints that vanish moments later. There's also talk of a young girl who died of yellow fever. Guests staying in her old room claim to hear the soft sound of a music box playing late at night. Sometimes the melody fades into soft humming, like a lullaby from someone who never left. Today, the Myrtles operates as a bed and breakfast. Hundreds of guests have stayed there, and dozens have left shaken. One woman reported waking up to see a figure standing at the end of her bed. A woman in a long dress, motionless, just staring. Another guest claimed his door opened slowly at 3 a.m., and he heard children laughing in the hallway, even though no children were staying that night. The staff, the ones who work there every day, will tell you they've grown used to it. They'll tell you about lights flickering in rooms that haven't been touched, furniture dragging across floors upstairs when the building is empty, and phantom footsteps echoing through the halls long after closing time. Even skeptics have walked in confident and walked out pale. Whether you believe in the legend of Chloe or think it's just folklore twisted by time, there's no denying one thing. Something lingers at the Myrtles. Psychics, historians, and paranormal investigators have all tried to explain it. Electromagnetic fields, residual energy, or the emotional scars of slavery and death imprinted on the home itself. Whatever the cause, the Myrtles Plantation is more than a house. It's a memory that refuses to fade. And if you ever find yourself standing under those ancient oaks, don't listen too closely. You might just hear the faint whisper of a woman still waiting behind the door. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to Paranormal Square for more true haunted tales every week. And if you've ever had a paranormal encounter of your own, send your story to us. Your story might be the next one we tell. There are some places in America where the air itself seems to remember. Places where screams from a century ago still echo through the walls. Tonight, we travel to one of the most disturbing homes in the country. A house where an entire family was slaughtered in their sleep, and where their restless spirits never left. This is the story of the Villisca Axe Murder House. Villisca, Iowa. A quiet, rural town where everyone knew each other by name. Back in 1912, it was the kind of place people left their doors unlocked, children played past sundown, and gossip spread faster than news. But that all changed on one warm June morning. When the Moore family's neighbors noticed something strange, the house was still dark. No one had come out to start the day. The horses hadn't been fed. And by noon, there was still no sign of life inside. A neighbor decided to check in. She knocked. No answer. She opened the door, and what she found would forever change Villisca's name from peaceful to cursed. Inside the home, every curtain had been drawn tight. Mirrors were covered with cloth. The faint smell of iron filled the air, the metallic scent of blood. In the master bedroom, Josiah and Sarah Moore were found brutally murdered in their bed, each struck repeatedly with an axe. Down the hall, their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, all gone. And upstairs, 2 young guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger, also dead, their faces unrecognizable from the blows. Every clock in the house had stopped. The killer had blown out the lanterns, closed the blinds, and lingered, long enough to cover every mirror, almost as if to hide what he'd done from God himself. The town erupted in horror. Hundreds gathered outside the home. Rumors spread of a stranger seen lurking near the train tracks, of a drifter, a reverend, a jealous rival. But no one was ever charged, and no one could explain the evil that had entered that home. The Moore family's funerals drew thousands, 6 small coffins, side by side. No one in Villisca ever slept soundly again. For over a century, the case remains unsolved. And yet, some say the house itself holds the answer, because what was left behind there was far more than blood. Decades later, when new owners moved in, they reported hearing footsteps pacing above their heads at night, children's laughter echoing through empty rooms, and whispers, faint, frantic, coming from the attic, where investigators believe the killer might have hidden, waiting. Visitors claim to see shadows dart across the walls, doors opening and closing by themselves, and the faint creak of bed springs, as if unseen bodies still toss and turn in endless sleep. Some paranormal teams have captured disembodied voices calling out names. Others have recorded the sound of an axe being dragged across the floorboards. And the temperature in the children's bedroom always drops without warning, even on the hottest nights. Many who dare to spend the night don't last till morning. One man woke up choking, convinced unseen hands were around his throat. Another fled screaming after hearing a child's voice whisper, "Don't let him come back." EVP recorders often pick up faint giggles, prayers, and sometimes a woman's voice softly weeping, as if Sarah Moore is still trying to protect her children. The attic, they say, is the most active. Investigators describe feeling watched, their equipment shutting down, batteries drained, as if something doesn't want to be seen. To this day, the Villisca Axe Murder House stands preserved, exactly as it was that night in 1912. Beds remade, lamps still on the tables, the axe marks still visible in the wood. Visitors can tour it by day, but the brave, or the foolish, can rent it overnight. And those who have rarely leave unchanged. One investigator reportedly took his own life after visiting the attic, leaving behind a note that simply read, "Things are not what they seem in Villisca." Some believe the spirits there are trapped, the children replaying the night of their deaths over and over, the parents unable to rest, and the killer's presence still watching from the shadows. Others say, evil just found a home there, and it's waiting for anyone foolish enough to open the door. Over 100 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. But when the lights go out in Villisca and the house grows quiet, you can almost hear it, the echo of footsteps and the distant sound of an axe striking wood. Would you spend a night inside? Because in Villisca, the dead don't rest, and evil never leaves. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own true paranormal experiences with us. Your story could be the next one featured here on Paranormal Square.